Hi, we're Diamond and Silk, and we love the Naked Truth Report.
Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Hi, folks. Hey, I know my truth warriors out there are, let's see, I'm talking to the choir. You guys can connect the dots, right? We connected the dots on election night. And particularly when we woke up that next morning, we saw what happened. It was obvious, was it not? Well, now more and more, now all the pieces are coming together. The evidence is piling up. Yes. There was an excellent piece that Steve Cortez wrote. He is a strategist with the Trump campaign, and he did a wonderful piece. He pointed out 4 issues that statistically show the improbability that Biden won. Okay. I think the Trump campaign is approaching this. His legal team is approaching this fraud on 2 levels, the macro and the micro. And so I want to discuss both of them. The macro is the instances of dead people voting, sending out mail-out ballots, and Republicans not being able to observe the election, things like that. The macro is, that's the micro. The macro is the evidence, the testimony, the information, the interview that we learned, that the information that we got in Sidney Powell's interview with Maria Bartiromo this morning, and also Juliana's interview with her. Yes. That interview about Dominion voting systems and the Smartmatic software program. So I'll discuss that the second part. But right now, let me go over Steve Cortez's 4 points. This goes to the micro evidence, the evidence that is piling up. And then the other thing about the micro evidence is that if you don't allow, I think Giuliani pointed this out, if Republican observers were unable to observe the voting process. That goes against the law because it's in the state law constitution. The state legislator had put in law that both parties must be able to observe the mail-in ballots. Yes. If they're not able to observe that, it's unconstitutional, it's unlawful, and thus, therefore, those ballots must be discarded. I guess that would be the remedy. But anyway, let me first go over Steve Cortez's points as to why it is statistically improbable that Biden won. Improbable, which means it's possible he won, but the probability that he won is more likely than not. He did not win, So the first issue is turnout, okay? The first issue is turnout. Turnout was exceedingly high in places where Biden needed to win, places, the battleground states. In Wisconsin, for example, their turnout was over 90%. Yes, over 90%. And within Wisconsin, Milwaukee, now this is critical to Biden's win, Biden won by 145,000 votes, and the turnout was 84% in Milwaukee. Can you believe that? Now, compare Milwaukee to Cleveland, which is a Midwestern city with similar demographics and similar population. The turnout in Cleveland was 51%. So do you really believe that a 84% turnout in Milwaukee is reasonable? Yeah, that's one thing. So the second thing is this, outperformance versus Obama's. Biden outperformed Obama's performance in 2012. He outperformed him where? Only in the places that mattered. Only in the key battleground states. You see, you don't see this consistent pattern or performance across the board. Just these things are only happening in the key battleground states. So Biden outperformed Obama in areas where he needed to count. For instance, Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania counties, Chester, Cumberland, and Montgomery County, Biden outperformed Obama by a factor of 1.24 to 1.43. Okay, yeah. Do you think Biden, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but Obama was considered like a rock star. You saw Biden couldn't even get 20 people to attend his rallies. He barely came out. He never discussed issues. Well, I'm preaching to the choir. We know it's obvious. It's obvious. You don't have to say the obvious, that Biden was not as popular as Obama, right? So why would he outperform him and outperform him specifically in battleground areas, battleground states? Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Let's see. In Montgomery County in Pennsylvania, Obama won 59,000 votes in his 2012 reelection. But Biden, in that same county, he got 131,000 votes, outperforming Obama. Yeah. What is the likelihood of that? And this is the other point that he made. The population growth in this county didn't grow that much, only by 22,000 people. The population growth from 2012, when Obama was reelected, to today, this year, only 22,000 people, the growth of the population. So the third issue is, let's see. This is another thing. Biden-only ballots. In other words, the voter only voted for Biden. Now, you can imagine why that would happen, right? Remember when we were watching the return on election night, how we were watching the race on election night, right? And they stopped at some point. In fact, in all of the battleground states, Trump was leading significantly. And then all of a sudden, they said, I remember Brett Baer said, Pennsylvania, they're going to resume counting tomorrow. Yes. So you can imagine that when they realized that Trump was performing better than expected, and they had to do something to make up for that disparity, that large gap, that large number of votes that Trump won by a landslide. And so they had to stop everything and figure out what to do. Bring in more ballots. So what did they do? They rushed out. This is in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, when we're all sleeping. And they got ballots and they wrote they circled in all these votes just for Biden, but didn't vote on any of the down candidates. And this happened only where it mattered. Where it mattered. 450, this is nationwide, but it was only in the battleground states. 450,000 Biden-only ballots were cast nationwide. 450,000, meaning that just circling in for Biden and no other candidate. So why would so many people vote Biden only in battleground states? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? We're connecting the dots here, folks. In Georgia, President Trump's total was almost exactly tracked to the vote total for the Republican candidates. In other words, what the Republican candidates, the Senate and House rates got, President Trump's total was equal to it. The only difference was, 818 votes. Out of 2.43 million votes, there were only 818 votes where only Trump was indicated on the ballot. 800 out of 2.4 million votes rather, only 818 had Trump only on the ballot. But for Biden, you know how many it was? 95,801. 95. So you can see at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, they're going out and circling in just Biden only. And the rest of the ballot is blank. Yeah, that's what was going on. So those are the micro issues, and also the fraud that was going on. Dead people voting, being on the voting rolls and voting. In fact, the Trump team, the legal team, has sworn affidavits. Now, when someone takes an affidavit out, that's signed under penalty of perjury. So they're taking an oath that this is true, what they're stating in the affidavit. The Trump team has hundreds of affidavits of witnessing fraud, of people, I think not one, but I'm sure many dead people voting. People are testifying that they called in and, I heard something, my grandmother is dead, but she voted in the election. I called in and found out just to see things like that. So that's what's happening on the micro level. And then the other thing, precluding the Republican observers from seeing what's going on. That took place dramatically in Pennsylvania. Not matching signatures. Yes. In fact, in Wisconsin, I think, or Michigan, they even lowered the caliber of what they match signatures via computer, but they lowered the standard to which signatures must be matched. It's so much evident. But the main thing, because the media keeps saying things like, well, there's no evidence. They shift the foot. Well, they say, well, now there's evidence, but there's not enough evidence to change the vote. Well, the media is now conceding that, well, maybe there is evidence of fraud, but it's not enough to change the vote. Well, if there's any evidence, if there's any fraud, it must be investigated. If there's any evidence of fraud, it must be investigated. And after going through 4 years of listening to the Biden supporters, Democrats, talk about Russia collusion, for Russian interference in our elections, and that came to nothing. I think Trump supporters are entitled to have an investigation. I think Trump is entitled to investigate if there's any amount of fraud, no matter what degree. But now we're learning that there's a lot of fraud. Now we're learning that the voting machines, Dominion voting machines, and their software program, Smartmatic, has an algorithm that allows you to go in the back door and in real time actually manipulate the votes. Yes. This is what Sidney Powell testified, or in her interview with Maria Bartiromo, this is what she talked about in that interview. Also, Rudy Giuliani, they talked about that. And she has evidence to support that claim. She has evidence, sworn affidavits by Dominion employees. And just coincidentally, the chairman of Smartmatic, his name is Peter Neffinger, is on Biden's transition team. You see, for 4 years, the Democratic Party has tried to smear Trump with the things they were actually doing. Whatever Democrats accuse Trump supporters of, that's who they are. They're telling on themselves as to who they are. Now, this Dominion, what is it? Voting machine is owned by Venezuela. In fact, that's what Giuliani said. Our votes are actually being counted, are going to Venezuela. Outside foreign interference in our elections. So the question is what? Will they be able to, will it make a difference? We know that Sidney Powell can compile all this evidence and present it to the Supreme Court, because it will have to go to the Supreme Court, presumably, because the Court of Appeals in some of these states are ruling against the Trump team. So they're going to have to take it up to the Supreme Court. I think Judge Alito has already sort of tipped his hand, and he recently spoke at the Federalist Organization. He's aware of what's going on. He sees the liberty. They are literally destroying America. They are literally when remember Pelosi when Trump was delivering his State of the Union, she tore up his speech. The Democratic Party is tearing up the Constitution. They have no respect for the American people. And the media is right there with them. The media are now activists. They're not journalists. They're not seeking the truth. They're literally working against the American people, at least half of the American people. Did you see the million-man march for Trump and how the media reported on that? Thousands of people. I think that was way more than thousands of people. They're our enemy, and Trump has been telling us, and we're all seeing it. This week is going to be amazing. We don't know how things are going to evolve, but we're all sitting on our seats watching and observing this play out. We can't say with 100% certainty, yes, the Supreme Court, what would be the remedy? To throw out the election? To toss it out completely? What would be the remedy? The evidence is very clear. If this Dominion voting and this software program, if they have hard evidence to prove that they literally manipulated the votes and changed the numbers, what would be the remedy? What do you think would be the remedy to cure that? Because the American people have been damaged. They have the Democratic Party, in cahoots with the media, has committed a fraud on the American people, trampling on our democracy, ripping up our Constitution. And, I mentioned before what happened during the midterms with Orange County, California. In fact, Sidney Powell mentioned that they used this Smartmatic software program in California. And you see the pattern. It's the same pattern. Because that during the midterms in Orange County, it was like all the Republican was winning. Then you wake up in the morning and the Democrats won all 4 seats. It's the same pattern. We know it's happening. We feel it. We can feel it in our bones, but we can connect also the dots. When you put all of it together, it's improbable that Biden would win. There's too much evidence of fraud. And that was their intention. This something that Mark Levine mentioned, and I like this expression. He says they're trying to institutionalize fraud. Republicans would never win another election again. They would never win the presidency again with a system that is cheating, that is switching their votes. I don't know how they think they're going to. I guess people are just going through the motions. Because the notion that Republicans will win these 2 Georgia seats, it's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen. Why? Because of the software program. That's why they're already saying that the polls are tight. And in fact, I think today they just mentioned that Biden won Georgia. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Biden winning Georgia, given all of the circumstances? It's unbelievable. You don't believe it. And yet, and this is why they rushed. They're just trying to rush. I'm so glad Trump didn't concede. But immediately, everyone rushed to, oh, we have a new president-elect, a new president. Biden won. It was such a rush job. Did you see? And we were like, wait, slow down. How did that happen so fast? It was like a sleight of hand. It was like a trick. And the idea that the Democrats would be willing to do this to the American people, cheat. Yeah, they'll do anything. They've weaponized everything. I heard someone say they've weaponized our history. This what we're seeing now, what we're witnessing now, didn't just start yesterday. This is something that has been going on for decades. That Smartmatic company started right after the Florida election. So what do we anticipate? How do we think that this will be resolved? How do you think that, what would be the remedy? We know it's true. Sidney Powell has a good reputation. She said she wouldn't say it if she didn't have evidence to prove it. She wouldn't bring it forth. And the other thing, how the media is censoring this information. It's like only half of us are getting it. Only us Trump supporters are getting it. The Democrats Biden supporters have no idea what's going on. And if they get a glimmer or glimpse of something, they have a reason why it doesn't make sense. Do you understand? Anyway, I'm going to ask you to call in and tell me, what do you think the remedy would be once this gets to the Supreme Court? Because we know once Sidney Powell brings this evidence forth, it's going to be organized, it's going to be clean, it's going to be straight. How is this going to be resolved? How will it be resolved? It's a difficult question. This is a first for our country. It's been going on for decades, but we didn't know. Now we have evidence of it. Now it's so blatant and in our face, and they don't even care. They could care less. We'll be right back. There's a Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. Call in and tell me, how should this be resolved? We'll be right back.
Sweet
America. Well, we're seeing what's happening to America right before our eyes. It's been going on for decades, but now it's so obvious. It's blatant, right? It's blatant right before our eyes. Sidney Powell said, we're fixing to overturn the election results in multiple states, and President Trump won by not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for the purpose. We have sworn testimony about why the software was designed. It was designed to rig elections, and it was designed specifically for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. And now it was outsourced, and now they've insourced it. Now it's domestic. It's been used all throughout Latin America. This Smartmatic software program that allows you to change, switch, manipulate the votes. The chairman is Peter Neffinger, and he's on Biden's transition team. Can you imagine? It's literally blatant. These folks are they obviously have been doing it for a long time to feel that they could get away with it, right? Anyway, why don't I take a call from, let's see, I have to put on my glasses, from Angela in LA County. Hi, Angela. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. Good to talk to you. I wanted to ask, how would you get the election results audited in the state of California?
For this year?
Yeah. I believe Trump won California, okay.
Oh, you think so?
I know that sounds different but I think there's a lot of people that voted for him in this state.
Yeah. I think so also. In fact, let's see, I saw some data point that Trump received more votes in Beverly Hills than he did in some county in Pennsylvania or something like that.
I heard he won Beverly Hills.
I believe it, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if he won California, but I think that your question is how would he get the votes audited in California?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know we don't know what's going to happen. I would think contacting the state legislatures in California, which I'm assuming they're mostly Democrat, and so they wouldn't want to perform an audit of the election.
But don't they have to just because you ask them?
Well, one person can't ask them, you see. I think it has to be a groundswell of registered voters to contact the state legislators and ask for but we don't know what's going to happen because I think California was involved with this Smartmatic Dominion voting machines in the Orange County election, but maybe not this year. I don't know. But
okay, and I wanted to bring up something else regarding the Atlanta, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Are those areas where there's a lot of more black people living there?
In the major cities, yes, I think so.
Yeah, and then John James in Michigan.
Right. What about
what I'm trying to bring about is because you start at the beginning of your program how the Democrats have let the black community down.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you, this is just more exploitation, and it just really makes me mad.
Yeah, it makes it.
They're stealing the senator's seat. They don't want John James just because he's black. They don't want him to be a senator.
No, just because he's a Republican.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's because he's black too. Because they're trying to put people back on the plantation. That's what I think.
Well, I think I don't know what district John James was in, but I think I'm not sure. I don't know if he's in Michigan. Is he in Detroit? Is that the district?
He was up before.
He's a senator. He was going for senator, so it's Michigan.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know what the numbers are exactly, so I can't say. But I think it's because he's a Republican.
Yeah.
I don't think because he's black, because Tim Scott is in, But listen, they have been used. We're like Black America is like a petri dish.
I know.
So in other words, they've destroyed Black America. Now they're going to destroy all of America. You see, committing fraud with this election system is destroying all of America. We were a petri dish for 50, 40 years. They were able to succeed in destroying us, so now they can destroy America, you see?
Right.
Exactly. Thanks for calling, Angela. Now I'll take a call from Brent in Los Angeles. Hi, Brent. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. Once again, there you go, being so cynical. Where is your proof that we actually landed on the moon? Where's your proof that the Earth isn't flat? And there are no civilizations, extraterrestrial civilizations inside the Earth.
Right.
It's like Bigfoot. It is so bizarre that, there's no proof of the Clinton crime family or the Biden crime family. There's no proof. But they have all this proof, apparently, of the Russian collusion by Trump and the Ukrainian quid pro quo. And where's your proof that Islam isn't a religion of peace?
No, everything they accuse us of, Trump supporters, that's them. It's so evident. And yet you see Biden supporters, and now I say it because I don't even try anymore to argue with them about anything or convince them. It's not worth it. They suffer from self-delusion. And this is something that Dennis Prager said. He said, their self-delusion knows no limits. I don't care what you show them. I don't care what you say. I don't care what evidence you say. You know, if the Supreme Court, if somehow Trump is still president for the next 4 years, there's going to be rioting in the streets, burning and looting.
Well, there's going to be riot and burning no matter what, because that's what they do until they're stopped. Mm-hmm. And we need to stop them. But this thing about there being a resolution, what's the resolution? A resolution is very simple and very easy if, in fact, that's what anybody wants. The Democrats do not want a resolution because the leaders of this, know it's an outright total fraud. And it's amazing how President Trump just keeps catching them all the time in constant, never-ending pathological lies.
And they just deny it.
I mean, so...
Or ignore it. They ignore it.
Well, of course, because that's the technique. That's the con. And, Dinesh D'Souza was so brilliant in this when he was talking about how he learned so much about politics in prison, where he realized the professional criminals, they never, ever, ever give up the con, no matter how absurd it is.
Right, exactly. It is like we're watching a movie played out.
Well, it's like a cheating boyfriend who, no matter how many times you catch him in bed, they say, who are you going to believe? Where's your proof?
Exactly. So you sounded like a Woody Allen movie or something. But it is, we're watching a movie play. If it weren't so serious, it'd be funny. Thanks for calling, Brett. I got a lot of calls. Let me take Cece, Cindy, and Dee Dee in Van Nuys. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, this is Cindy. Hi, I'm a proud listener of AM 870. I listen all the time. I love your show as well.
Thank you.
I had a comment. You're welcome. I had a comment about the election. When the proof of the Dominion voting fraud comes completely to light, and there's an undeniable, uncontestable proof of fraud, the election needs to be given to Congress, and Congress will vote, and Trump will win. And that's my take on it.
Well, yeah, you think that's going to happen? What is the likelihood of that happening?
Well, I got to keep a good thought that it's going to happen. I try to be positive. I know how hard Trump is fighting for us, and he's doing so many things behind the scenes. In fact, I was hoping that he would, at some point soon, bring light to the fact that Joe Biden and his son Hunter, all that stuff with Ukraine, all that stuff that they've been doing, that's corrupt.
Right. He can only bring it. He can only bring that forward if he's still in office. The Durham report they're operating on the notion that Biden is going to win, and the Durham investigation already indicated that would be stopped. They're operating as they continue to operate. They're just ignoring us Trump supporters. They're just ignoring 72 million Americans. We're ignored completely.
Yeah. The media. This is Dee Dee. Hang on.
Hi, the media does not get to decide who the president of the United States is.
Yeah, but they just move forward. They just move forward like they can. And they censor everything. You see, Cindy Powell and Rudy Giuliani is being censored. I was surprised that, and we're not watching Fox anymore. I just happened to catch it this morning.
Oh,
but we now moved on to Newsmax and One. OAN. Yeah. But I was surprised that Cindy Powell was on Maria Bartiromo's show. I was very surprised to see her.
Wow. Yeah, and what about what's his name? Tucker. What about Tucker Carlson? Is he moving over to Newsmax?
Yeah, that's what I hear. I don't know yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks for calling in, Cindy and Dee Dee. I appreciate it. I have a lot of calls. Let's take a call from Erica in Hollywood. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Oh, hi. Actually, I'm in Westwood, but that's okay.
Yeah, hi.
I have a solution. My solution is that we all go and re-vote. I know it sounds crazy, but I think we should just say, screw it, and we all go re-vote, and whoever doesn't like it, which would probably be the Democrats, then they don't have to go.
How can we just go and re-vote? I mean, that has to be set up and everything.
Yeah, well, we just say, okay, we're going to re-vote on November 20th. and we get to boost all electronic, no mail-in.
But who would let us?
Identification.
Who was gonna just let us revote? The ballots have to be set up and everything. You just can't just go. Where would you go?
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Aren't they all volunteers, though, the people who helped out?
I don't know, but yeah. What about the other candidates? That's what my engineer said. I don't know about the other candidates, but I don't know about the other candidates.
Republicans would help out with setting up, the machines, the electronic machines, the polling machines.
Oh, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's a nice idea, Erica.
Okay.
Thank you for calling in. Okay, let's take Gregory in L.A. County. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Good evening, Kathleen, and your audience. First thing, we have to have the election processes stationed in the USA under lock and key. Yes, the Democrats, Republicans, they can oversee it, but it has to be secure in this country, not off on some foreign shore land where there's all sorts of potential for interference and tampering with that whole system. Secondly, I'd like to see Eric Early and Jill Collins come forward and contest the outcome of this election. Case in point, to hear that Maxine Waters won this current election by a factor of 3-1, the whole thing is very suspicious. I heard again on Barack O'Leary's show, he was informing that regarding the Dominion program, that it was weighting the votes. In other words, if I voted for Trump, and if my vote is being, say, weighted, well, I only got 0.7% of a vote by voting for Trump. And if someone comes along in California and votes for Biden, they get 1.75 votes per their vote. That's unfair.
I'm not surprised. That's a violation of Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. So
that's correct.
It's unconstitutional. Yeah, I'm sure.
In California.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. If you notice in California, for years, the elections have basically gone in the Democrats' direction. You hardly see any Republicans or say, independents winning. Why is that? I mean, the whole thing sounds very, very suspicious.
Fishy. The fish smells at the head. Is that how they say? Listen, this lets you know this has been in the works for decades. We don't know what elections were kosher, ethical.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. We know when they had the midterms in Orange County, remember? They were red, and then we woke up in the morning and they were all blue.
Yes, I do.
And
that might have been the first time they were manipulating the vote count.
Exactly. So in fact, Sidney Powell mentioned California. You see,
mm-hmm.
we've all been subjugated to fraud, and we don't know how long the Democratic Party should be ostracized or something. I don't know what the remedy would be.
I'd like to see the American Center for Law and Justice send an investigative group over here and really start to hit the systems in which were in place during this election, even previous elections, especially this election on November the 3rd, and to see if they can see a pattern of, say, one candidate, leading the way. All of a sudden, miraculously, they slowed down the vote count, and then their opposition just seems to surge ahead. The whole thing sounds so irregular. It has to be looked at. And again, I want to see our voting system in the USA, not on some foreign shore.
And no wonder these Democrats act with impunity. They talk crazy and say all kinds of wild things because they're not. Mm-hmm. They don't fear losing their seats.
Right. I want voter ID too. I have no problem with showing my voter ID, whatever it is. I want to see voter ID. If you don't like that, Democrats, tough noogies.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. You know, what I'm learning is that Democrats use voter suppression to commit voter fraud. You see? They scream about voter suppression so that they can commit voter fraud. They didn't abide by any rules. They thumb their nose at the rules and regulations regarding anything. They don't give a darn. The Secretary of State of Pennsylvania, she didn't care. The court ordered her to segregate the ballots coming in late, and she said, oh, never mind. Anyway, Raul, welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, the president 4 years ago appointed a commission to look into voter fraud and to clear the rolls, and the corrupt Democrats wouldn't abide by it. The secretaries of state refused to cooperate. He appointed Michael Pence, the VP, that great guy. This man he's like a Bobby Kennedy. He would have done a great job, and he had to disband the commission because these secretaries of state did not want to listen to abided by it, but they're criminals. They have dead people voting. They have illegal migrants voting, especially in California with Gilbert Cedillo, who's my council member. This guy's corrupt, and all he did was arrest illegal migrants. He eventually got Luis Alejo. He was president or chair of the Legislative Caucus to get the licenses for these illegal migrants because they're undocumented. I'm sure they're voting. And Kathleen, I'm so disgusted with this Biden character because he said at first, we got to count every vote. Remember, count every vote. Then he said the election's over.
Raul, you're going in and out. You're going in and out. I'm going to let you go because you're going in and out, and I'm sure it's disturbing to the listeners. You're going in and out, but I hear what you're saying. I think for years they have been cheating. The Democratic Party is a corrupt party. We've been living under the foot of the Democratic Party. Who knows what? If we could only go back in time, if we knew yesterday what we know now, we have no idea what we've been living under unnecessarily. And you see Joe Biden, you see what they're doing with the COVID? Chicago's getting ready to lock down again for a couple of weeks, a month. Joe Biden says we should lock down for 4 to 6 weeks. New York is getting ready to lock down. You hear what we can't have for Christmas? I mean, for Thanksgiving, who knows what they'll do for Christmas? For Thanksgiving, we can only have 10 guests and they have to eat outside. These people, and yet they call Trump authoritarian or totalitarian or a dictator. You see, they're crazy. I think they're crazy. Well, their supporters are crazy, that's for sure. I'm convinced that Biden supporters, they're not wrapped too tight, as they say. You know what I mean? They're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. They have no idea what's going on. They're clueless. But it's going to be interesting to see how this week plays out, because they can't completely just ignore what Sidney Powell is saying, can they? And as I mentioned before, the Durham has already indicated he's willing to give up. Oh, I don't want any backlash. This is the quote. I don't want any backlash from the Biden administration. Everyone is operating as if the Biden administration is a done deal. But it takes us, the American people, the Trump supporters, which is more, hey, we got the numbers on our side, folks. Because let me tell you, those numbers that Biden got, they're fraud. Those were Trump's numbers. Those were Trump's votes. They were manipulated. They were switched to Biden from Trump. So we've got probably 80 million Trump supporters out there. You see? It's all, oh my God, who are these people? Who are these journalists? Don't they have some integrity? I guess not. How did we get here? Anyway, next week should be interesting. It should be a new development, because this week is going to be really interesting. I'll see you next week. This is the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Sweet America.